So let's go to the next slide here and understand the similarities and differences between these exams, right? And you'll also understand why I keep 12th boards at the lowest level and JEE Advanced at the topmost level, right? So if you look at the JEE Advanced paper, the type of questions that you have is a lot, right? So, and every year they basically come up with something. So in match the column itself, you have two different types of questions. You can have 2-column matching or you can have 3-column matching, right? You have a numerical answer type question, you have comprehension type question, right? You have negative marking in some questions, you don't have negative marking in some question. The paper pattern of JEE Advanced is essentially not fixed, and that is why if you look at the number of questions in each exam, all right, if you look at the number of questions in each exam, it's fixed for the other exams, but for JEE Advanced it varies. You know, so there is no fixed pattern to the paper. Last year there were 54 questions in a paper, right, of JEE Advanced. Some years there are 60 questions in the paper. All right. If you look at JEE Mains, there are 75 questions. It's MCQ based. So the common theme here is MCQ. All right, that there are multiple choice questions for most of the others, right? And the numerical, and there are also numerical answer questions that were introduced from this year onwards in JEE Mains. All right, the number of questions 75. If you look at BitStat, you have 150 questions which you have to solve in 3 hours. MHCT 200 questions that you have to solve in 3 hours. Now, if you compare this data, then what can you understand? That you cannot have the same level of questions where you have 60 questions in a paper to solve in 3 hours and 200 questions to solve in 3 hours. So it is a given that the CET questions will of course be a lower level than your JEE Mains or JEE Advanced or a BitSat paper, right? So that is why I've clubbed CET with almost the boards level, right? These are questions that come direct formula based almost entirely, or very less level of application of concepts that it requires, right? The most application of concept is required in JEE Advanced. And also if you notice, in the time I've written for JEE Advanced 2 papers of 3 hours each. So JEE, when you want to get into an IIT, it is not just about how much of physics, chemistry or maths you know. It is also about your mental strength, that can you be focused for 8 hours at a stretch. So 9 to 12 the first paper happens, you get a 2-hour break, and then 2 to 5 the other paper happens. So for 8 hours can you stay focused and bring out whatever you've learned? So it's like a test match basically, right? All the others are like 20 matches, or you could say one-day international. So I like to give a lot of examples from sports, so I relate to that a lot. So JEE Advanced is like a test match. It will not only test how much, whether you can bat or not. It will test your technique. It will test your perseverance. It will test your determination. All right. So, and that is why JEE Advanced is at the top. It requires you to know application of the concepts in and out. For JEE Mains, some questions are application based, where you may have to use 2-3 concepts at the same time. Quite a lot of questions are also direct formula based, right? With BitSat, mostly formula based, some theoretical questions. All right. With ICER, again application based. Okay. So this is why we grade these. I've graded, or we have graded these exams in this particular way. Okay. Now, where does board stand with respect to all of this? So I'll tell you over here that boards does not require application of concepts, maybe in 2 or 3 questions that we have seen each year. Other than that, the entire paper does not require you to have application. It just requires you to know a lot of things and use formulas, right? So if you look at what boards requires and what these exams require application, whereas boards is a lot theoretical in nature. So if there's a 70 marks physics paper in 12th standard or a chemistry paper in 12th standard, then out of those 70 marks, 45 marks are mostly theory, and the remaining are numericals, which is basically where you have to apply formulas and stuff. So the approach in preparation becomes entirely different, right? And that is why a lot of people who can score very well in boards do not necessarily end up doing well in these examinations. All right. So these are the similarities and differences between these